Welcome to Conversations with Pastor Charlie, a series of candid, insightful discussions offering a godly perspective on current events, interviews with people from all walks of life, and other topics the Lord places on Pastor Charlie's heart. Now here's Pastor Charlie.
Tonight, I want to continue to talk about something that some might call political, but really, it is a biblical principle and affects the church as well as the United States. Now, this is part 3 of the United We Stand. Now, our starting point was and is Mark 3, verses 24 and 25. If a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house is divided against itself, that house will not be able to stand. Now, this applies to our nation. It applies to the church, and it applies to our families. Now, 2 weeks ago, we identified the first problem that is dividing the church and therefore our country. It was disunity. The disunity is what is compounding the second problem, which we found out last week is a lack of holiness. Well, tonight, I want to talk about what is freedom. Now, most Americans value freedom. What do you think is the definition of freedom? Well, John 8, verses 31 through 33 says, Jesus said to the people who believed in him, "You are truly my disciples if you keep obeying my teachings, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." But we are descendants of Abraham, they said. We have never been slaves to anyone on earth. What do you mean, set free? Now, if you ask a teenager to define freedom, you might get answers like, well, no, I don't have to obey rules. Getting to choose whatever I want. You know, if they try to think of a dictionary definition, they might say it's getting to choose between alternatives. Well, ask a child, and they may say it's getting to choose what they want to eat. If freedom means everyone does whatever they want, then the meaner or stronger person will soon prevail and force everybody else to do what they want. Guys, that's oppression, not freedom. The real problem is the loss of the true meaning of freedom. Freedom does include choice. Even the biggest liberals will say that a free society allows people to do what they want to do as long as they don't harm anyone else. Your freedom to fling your fist ends just short of your neighbor's nose. This view of freedom is still not complete. It suggests that freedom and law are at odds. They're not. Our American founders had a much broader idea in mind. It's called liberty, ordered liberty. In the song, America the Beautiful, it says, "Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law." Wow. Freedom is the power to do what you don't want to do and not to do what you want to do. Romans 7, verses 14 through 17 says, "The law is good then. The trouble is not with the law, but with me, because I am sold into slavery, with sin as my master. I don't understand myself at all, for I really want to do what is right, but I don't do it. Instead, I do everything I hate. I know perfectly well that what I'm doing is wrong, and my bad conscience shows that I agree that the law is good. But I can't help myself because it is sin inside me that makes me do these evil things. Wow. Yes, Paul wrote that. Let me give you some quotes from some of our founding fathers, okay? Benjamin Rush said, "The only foundation for a useful education in a republic is to be laid in religion. Without this, there can be no virtue, and without virtue, there can be no liberty. And liberty is the object and life of all Republican governments." So his idea was religion or faith in God leads to virtue, and virtue leads to liberty. Another quote comes from Benjamin Franklin. He said, "Only a virtuous people are capable of freedom." I want to say that again, and then I'll finish this quote. Only a virtuous people are capable of freedom. As nations become corrupt and vicious, they have more need of masters. Makes you worry about America today, doesn't it? Well, Thomas Jefferson said, "God who gave us life gave us liberty. And can the liberties of a nation be thought secure when we have removed their only firm basis, a conviction in the minds of the people that these liberties are the gift of God?" Wow. When you remove God, you remove all liberty. Now, John Adams said, "The Bible contains the most profound philosophy, the most perfect morality, and the most refined policy that ever was conceived on earth." Now, while that doesn't exactly assert without faith no freedom, it underscores how foundational John Adams considered Christian principles. Well, Matthew chapter 26, verse 39 says, "He went on a little further and fell face down on the ground, praying, 'My Father, if it is possible, let this cup of suffering be taken away from me. Yet I want your will, not mine.'" That's the New Living Translation. Now, this understanding of freedom is what distinguished the American and French revolutions. Thomas Jefferson saw the French Revolution of 1789 as continuing in the spirit of the American Revolution. John Adams worried that the French Revolution would end in grief. Well, guess what? Adams was right. While both revolutions celebrated liberty, fraternity, and equality, the French cut off the roots of those ideas. They removed God. They were vehemently anti-Christian. They even dressed a woman as the goddess of reason and placed her on the high altar at the Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris. Their view of liberty had more to do with freedom from restraint than with ordered liberty. The French revolutionaries started by beheading priests, royalty, and aristocrats, and ended by killing each other. Order was only restored by the military dictatorship of Napoleon Bonaparte in 1799. It's a mistake to think that freedom is just getting to do what you want. That freedom and rules are on opposite sides. I love to watch tennis. Now, you may think I'm crazy, but I just love tennis. And I'm going to use that sport to make a point. Now, I can go buy tennis racket, tennis shoes, and even enter tournaments. I'm free to play any way that I want. But am I free to win the U.S. Open? I'm not entitled to even be invited to play in the U.S. Open, let alone win it. I am free to be, or am I free? I need to make this a question. Am I free to be number one in the world? Well, I'm free to try, but unless I submit to years of training, dedication, it won't happen. Most people think because they are free, they are entitled. This is the furthest from the truth. True freedom and or liberty comes from God. If they are separated from God, they are no longer either. They no longer have freedom nor liberty. Now, we'll talk more about this in another Conversations video with Pastor Charlie. Good night.
Jesus is coming soon. Are you ready to meet him face to face? Are your family and friends ready to meet him face to face? Please be ready. Then help others get ready. God bless.